Welcome to Cataclysm Dark Days Ahead, Tales from the Final Day. This is a challenge world. You can download the world if you want to try it yourself. It will have some very challenging settings, beyond how difficult the game is by default. For my game, I will allow myself up to 4 characters. If all 4 characters die, I will have lost the challenge. For my attempt at this challenge, I have specific pre-generated characters in mind. They are an addict, a mechanic, a mall cop, and a prisoner. If all 4 of these lives are extinguished, I will have lost the game. However, if any of them live for a full month, the game is won. Okay, let me go into detail about the world settings. In this world, cities are slightly larger than normal, and there is less space between them. This means that it is easier to attract the attention of hordes. Characters will also be more likely to spawn inside a large urban area, as opposed to out in the wilderness. Item spawns are 20% lower than default. This means that some shops may be missing key items entirely. It will be harder to amass canned food and other supplies. There is therefore more of an emphasis on crafting as opposed to finding pre-made items. Now for the deadly stuff, the zombie settings for this world. In this world, zombies evolve 4 times faster. I do this by modifying the monster evolution scaling factor. According to the wiki, when this factor is reduced, the half-life of a zombie's time before evolving is also reduced. The factor here is multiplied by 28 for 28 days per month to get the resulting time that half of the zombies will have likely evolved. By default, it is at 4, which means 4 times 28, which is 4 months, but I reduced it to 1. The new half-life for zombies is now just 1 month. Monster speed and resilience are also 5% higher than the default. For many characters, zombies will now be on pace with them, and fights will be even more challenging. There are half as many NPCs. This is because we don't want to spend too much time with NPCs because they are not really fully implemented to many players' satisfaction, and it's best if we limit their availability. However, if you are able to find a scavenger or a trader, it is possible to use that to your benefit. I've slightly adjusted the time at the beginning of the game when the Cataclysm occurred to make it begin earlier in the day. Here, the Cataclysm strikes at 2 a.m. With our challenging world configured, we will begin. For all of our starts, we will be choosing the surrounded scenario. This will make the most of our difficulty choices by starting the player in a town. I used a random number generator to pick my first character of the 4 that I have prepared. First up is the mechanic. This is fortunate for me, as my longest games have been as a mechanic. I find vehicles to be very powerful survival tools in the game, and my experiences have led me to believe that they are undervalued tools in the survival genre more broadly. I'm hoping that I will be lucky with my starting position, as if I die as the mechanic, I think that the other choices will be even more difficult for me. My best chance is to win the challenge within this first life. This mechanic's name is Justin Rosas. Let me describe Justin's negative traits. He is ugly and socially awkward, which were problems for him before, but he will not likely suffer from these much anymore during the apocalypse, seeing as most everyone is dead. Psychologically, he is both depressed and a nomad, and becomes more unhappy if he spends too much time in one location. Justin is also disorganized and can't carry as much volume on him. Instead, I will have to manage my inventory ideally on a vehicle, using its trunk to store my items as I travel. Justin also has a glass jaw, which makes his head have 20% lower maximum HP. On the positives, he is deft, which means that if he misses a melee attack in combat, the next attack can be executed for fewer action points. He is also a fast learner, gaining more experience from training skills. My hope is that he will be able to quickly gain more mechanics experience quickly and become able to construct as powerful a vehicle as possible as soon as possible. Because of the difficulty of monster evolution, I will need to move as fast as I can. Justin also requires less sleep than the average person, which I intend to put to use in late nights working on his rig. Lastly, he has a perk called Killer Drive, which, when he kills something, will make him a little happier. In terms of his stats, Justin has 12 strength, 10 dexterity, 6 intelligence, and 6 perception. He is a bit of a melee powerhouse, but less capable of using guns. I hope that making this character have a focus on strength will help me get through the very beginning of the game. After all this preparation, it would be a shame for Justin to die right at the beginning. He is my best hope for beating this challenge. Overall, this character is meant to be behind the wheel and will be poor at most activities aside from that. However, he should be decent at melee combat and able to handle a small number of zombies. Justin has skills in dodging, driving, electronics, fabrication, first aid, mechanics, and melee. I'm also going to use a random number generator to choose the starting location. I got the hospital. Not off to a good start. So, let's begin. Justin finds himself in a dark hospital. It is not entirely dark, however, as through the inky shadows a zapper zombie can be seen. Electrical arcs connecting between the metallic equipment of the hospital and its own defective cybernetics. This zapper zombie has not noticed Justin. In the dim light of a distant computer terminal, he can also spot a group of zombies. It is likely that many more exist in the darkness around him. He must tread carefully. Justin cannot remember the sequence of events that has led to him being here in this dark hospital. Perhaps this is because the events before him are so dangerous that his mind is hyper-focused on what to do. Perhaps it is because the Cataclysm wiped his memory. But one thing is very clear to Justin's mind. He is in immense danger, and these zombies will kill him if he is not extremely careful. In the town around him, which is called the town of Weld, very fitting for our mechanic character, Justin recalls a garage that exists to the northwest of the hospital. The distance is small between himself and the garage, and traveling there as soon as possible may be his best bet to surviving the day. It is currently night, and Justin begins to make his way out of the hospital. Justin takes a single step, and from the inky blackness, suddenly 2 zombies attack, a soldier zombie and a child. Justin is bit twice, although lightly, on his second turn. There are now 4 zombies surrounding Justin. He begins to run south and away from the zombies. He hopes that there is some sort of emergency exit. Glass shatters inside the hospital as the zombies rampage throughout. Justin rushes through the dark, hoping to find an escape. But his way is blocked. The hospital seems to be crowded with zombies. They begin to close in on him. It is looking very, very bad for Justin. His best hope is to avoid the zombies as he flees through the darkness away from them. If he can avoid the zombies immediately around him, the others will be drawn to the noises that the shattered glass is causing. His life lays on the edge of a shard of broken glass. One wrong move, and the zombies will close in on him from every side and drag him to the ground. An electrical arc zaps Justin from the zapper zombie, the wave of electricity stunning him for a quick second. He stumbles deeper through the darkness, blindly into a group of zombies. They claw and bite at him as he attempts to get away. Despite his best attempts, Justin is surrounded. He cannot move through the zombies. One of them grabs him as the others claw and bite away. Justin attempts to fight his way through, targeting the smallest zombies. He punches and kicks them, but the fight does not seem to be going his way. He is now being hoarded within the middle of the hospital. The zombies continue to bite him, and he is now bleeding from every limb of his body. This is how Justin the mechanic died. It is still 2:02 a.m. Justin only survived for a meager 2 minutes. Now, that outcome was not what I was hoping for. The mechanic was my best bet at surviving the month, but they died due to an unlucky start. I have 3 more lives before I've lost this challenge. Let's hope that my next life will be luckier and not begin in a dark and dense hospital. My random number generator tells me that next up is the mall cop. His name is Foster Punch Meyer. Now, since I've played through a hospital before, I have removed hospital starts from my possible starting locations. Using the random number generator to select from the remaining locations, it shows an apartment rooftop. I've done this kind of start a few times before. If I'm lucky, I can avoid the few zombies that will also spawn on the rooftop and potentially cause others to fall off the sides. Beyond that, I don't know apartments much at all. They have multiple floors and a central stairwell. If I can get into an apartment, I may be safe enough to set up. However, I think that tools may be scarce here. Let me explain this character, Foster. They are a mall cop and wield both a taser and an extendable baton. These are decent combat weapons, and the taser can be helpful in a pinch to stun a monster. Mall cops also have a flashlight, which will be extremely helpful, seeing as it will be 2:02 a.m. when Foster begins. Foster's negative traits are that he has a fast metabolism and high thirst. This means that he requires more food and water than an average person, but fast metabolism also makes his stamina recharge slightly faster. This will make sustaining Foster's life significantly more difficult. He also has an extremely slow, natural healing rate, and will require first aid to do much healing at all. For his positives, he is tough and has taken self-defense classes in Krav Maga. Foster is quick and has 10% more action points than average. He is also a pack mule and able to carry 40% more volume. As for his stats, Foster is a melee powerhouse, having 12 strength and 12 dexterity, but 7 intelligence and 7 perception. He is skilled at bashing weapons, dodging, electronics, fabrication, first aid, mechanics, and melee. I opted for going wide here, so that he is capable of doing everything from beating zombies with his mall cop baton to working on vehicle electronics. Now, let us see whether Foster can survive for a month. Foster begins in a 7th floor stairwell. It is unclear to him why he is here. Perhaps that haziness is due to the events of the Cataclysm. He knows only that he is in extreme danger, and that many around him have spontaneously transformed into monsters. He must find a safe place to survive and prepare himself. Foster clicks on his flashlight. He can see that he is on the roof of an apartment building. Staring towards him now are 2 zombies, one in a hazmat suit, and the other grossly decayed. Rather than draw these 2 zombies into the stairwell, Foster decides it is best to run onto the rooftop. After all, he must have climbed up here for a good reason. He clicks the flashlight off, running through the darkness of the night. Coming up to an edge of the rooftop, Foster turns his flashlight back on and sees several more zombies up here as well. He decides to attempt to cross to a part of the roof that is protected by a fence. To get there, he will have to walk along the rooftop's edge. He turns his flashlight back off and steps onto the ledge of the rooftop. Once he is across, he walks to one corner of the roof where a gap exists in the area of the rooftop. Standing on this corner, he turns his flashlight back on and attracts the attention of the monsters. One by one, they pursue him and dumbly fall off the rooftop. The only remaining zombie that he can see now is brainless, missing the top half of its skull, and is incapable of seeing it. It will probably fall off on its own given time. Foster continues to lead the zombies off of the rooftop. His method is working. He stands near to the ledges, leading zombies off of the apartment roof and down to certain death below. Atop this roof, there are 8 intact solar panels. These may be extremely useful later on, if he needs to power a vehicle or other machine. Now that the rooftop is clear, he must see what exists inside of the apartment. Foster expands and wields his baton, but rather than fight anything he finds below, he intends to lead it up and off of the rooftop. It may take slightly longer, but this way Foster will avoid any hand-to-hand combat with these infectious fiends. Foster descends to the 6th floor. He flicks his flashlight on and scans the hallway. The windows at one end of the apartment hall are almost completely shattered, likely destroyed as multiple zombies crashed through them. There is only one zombie remaining here in the hall. He leads it towards him and up the stairs to the rooftop. From there, he leads it back and over the edge. With the apartment hall cleared, Foster is now intent on getting inside one of the apartments. He checks the doors, which all seem to be locked. For many of these apartments, forgotten newspapers and magazines are filling their mailboxes. It seems apparent to Foster that the residents here are either still hiding inside or have been gone for a long time. Foster uses his extended mall cop baton to smash a hole in one of the doors beside the broken hall window. Through the hole, he can see the length of the apartment, including a balcony at the far end. He waits a moment to see if anything inside has heard him before smashing the door down completely. Foster enters the apartment and sweeps through it with his flashlight. Thankfully, each room seems to be empty. He takes some time to look through the belongings of its former resident. More than likely, they are now one among the billions of undead who now roam this world. As he searches the bedroom, he finds a holy symbol. Although not a religious man before, the idea of the necklace is comforting. Foster puts on the holy symbol. Through the north-facing balcony, Foster can see a dense forest out the window. This apartment building is on the edge of a city, one which Foster does not remember the name of. There is a good amount of food in this apartment. For dinner, Foster eats an entire box of crackers and a marshmallow. He drags a dresser from the bedroom into the gap where the door used to be. If a zombie comes hunting for him, at least it will take a little while longer and make some more noise. The tap water was not running. In the bathroom, he noticed that there was some residual water, both in the toilet's back tank and in its bowl. The toilet, however, was spattered in blood. He would want to at least boil the water first. Power to the apartment was entirely off, and the oven no longer worked. He took a frying pan from the kitchen and filled it with toilet water. Searching for a lighter in the apartment, he could find none. Foster decided to search the other apartments to see if they had more useful tools. In the next apartment, he found more food. There was, like in the first apartment, residual water left in the bathroom, which he could boil. All he needed now was a lighter. In the third apartment, he found what he needed. In a garbage can, he retrieved a nearly empty lighter. He also found a bullwhip. Why this whip was here in a dresser is a question better left unanswered. Foster tried a few practice swings. It seemed like he could get a good hit off at around 3 meters away. This was much better than going in close quarters with his baton. Foster also found a raincoat and put it on. The coat was made of a durable plastic and would be hard for the zombies to tear. In addition, it had pockets. He continued to break through each room on this floor, searching for anything of value. Duct tape, a leather belt. Each apartment had a few new things, and there was also lots of food and water. In his fourth apartment, he came across a broken window. To him, it seemed like there had been a zombie inside, which had broken out through the window. He wondered if the same scenario had happened throughout the building, with countless residents turned zombies falling to their deaths. The apartments here were possibly undefended. He may be able to clear a few floors tonight. As he cleared out the last few apartments on the top floor, he found a number of useful things. Antiseptic for disinfecting wounds, a complete toolbox containing the ability to do almost anything handy, such as hammering, sawing, bolt turning, screw driving, and even tree cutting. He also found a deep concealment holster, although he has nothing currently that would fit. In addition, there was a growing quantity of food and water from each cleared apartment. The toolbox itself changed his circumstances completely. He started to think about how he could best board up the apartment building and whether he could stay there for as long as possible. My current thinking is that if Foster were to go through the entire building, amassing food from each apartment, he may be able to survive an entire month off of that food alone. This could be an easy win for my challenge. But that is as far as we will go for this first episode. I hope you have enjoyed this narrative telling of the game. I've done a few written versions of stories like this, which I'll link in the description of this video if you would like to read similar tales. I'm intending this to be a full series, hopefully narrating the survival of our mall cop Foster. However, if he is to meet an untimely demise, we have 2 other characters remaining who can carry the torch. If you would like to play out in this challenging world with your own characters, maybe trying out this same challenge of 4 characters for 1 month, I have included a link to download this map generation file. I would be very interested to know how your own stories go in this shared world, and whether anybody makes it to the town of Weld or to that garage that I was hoping to get to as our first dead character, Justin. Cataclysm is a fantastic game, and as a fan of the zombie genre since I was a teenager, back in the time of SARS and the swine flu, being a long-term fan of the zombie genre has in some ways prepared me for this current coronavirus year. That's not to say that these games are educational, but you can certainly learn much from simulation games of any kind. I look forward to the next episode where we will delve further into these tales from the final day.